Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good morning. My name is Amal Hayati binti Maisa, a final student of Electrical Engineering. In this video presentation, I will present about my final year project 2 with the title Analysis on Partial Discharge Activity in SLPE Cable by using MATLAB software. My supervisor name is Dr. Nur Akmal binti Muhammad Jamail. For the summary, this project is about to analyze the partial discharge activity due to the presence of small void in SLP insulation cable by develop an electrical circuit model of partial discharge measurement in MATLAB software. The different dimension of void and also different applied voltage are used in order to analyze the characteristic of partial discharge. Besides that, the calibration circuit of partial discharge also be developed in order to calibrate the test object, and the result obtained will be analyzed in this project. Next, the problem of this project are partial discharge can cause of many of failure and damage to the SLPE cable. Partial discharge have strong electric field that can change the shape of insulating material, and energy also produced can cause to breakdown of insulating material, which can damage the insulation cable. Next, the quality control of insulation cable means that the insulation cable must be monitored, analyzed and tested in order to control the quality of insulation cable for avoiding of partial discharge issue. Then the lifetime of insulation cable decrease with presence of void. The void in form of air bubbles can produce a small weak zone which can create a partial discharge. Due to this problem, partial discharge measurement is very important for analysis of partial discharge activity and also early detection of insulation failure. There are four objectives for this project, which are to design the measuring system of partial discharge occur in insulation cable, which is SLPE cable by using various components. Then, to simulate the partial discharge of SLPE cable with different effect of void dimension in suitable software. Then, to find out the partial discharge characteristic in SLPE cable with different effect of void dimension. And lastly, to design and utilize the calibration circuit of partial discharge across the test object. The scope for this project, the circuit for partial discharge measurement was used various components in order to develop the circuit diagram of partial discharge measurement in MATLAB software. The simulation of the measuring system also had been obtained and analyzed that using a SLP insulator model with different effect of void dimension. The applied voltage from 5 kV until 20 kV is supplied into the AC source, and different diameter of void from 2 mm until 6 mm was used as the parameter in this project. The simulation result obtained from MATLAB Simulink had been analyzed in terms of applied voltage and different dimension of void. And lastly, the calibrated circuit of partial discharge was used various components in MATLAB software, including a test object with diameter of void 2 mm and applied voltage source was 9 volt. Next, there are four titles of research paper that I list in this project. The first is, the title is Partial Discharge Measurement in Solid Dielectric of HV Cross-Linked Polyethylene SLP Submarine Cable. This paper is study about the monitoring and investigation on various effects of partial discharge in SLP cable with 3 different locations of void. Next, the title is Partial Discharge Analysis of a Solid Dielectric using MATLAB Simulink. This paper is study the maximum amplitude of partial discharge, burst of partial discharge in different applied voltage, number of partial discharge with respect to phase angle and apparent charge that transfer with different applied voltage. Next, the simulation model of partial discharge in power equipment. This paper is study on partial discharge activity due to the presence of small cubical and cylindrical void in the middle of solid insulator. And lastly is the title is Modeling of Calibration Skirt for Partial Discharge Measurement. This paper studies the characteristic of partial discharge after applying different value of high voltage source across the solid insulation and designing of a simulation and physical calibration skirt of partial discharge. For the methodology, it consists of flowchart that shows step-by-step of workflow for this project. This flowchart is divided into 4 phases, which are phase 1 is about project planning, consists of the confirmation of project title and identify the problem statement, and information collection from literature review. For the phase 2 is about modeling of the circuit diagram. It consists of the determine the component and tools needed to construct the measurement system, design and construct the measuring system and calibration circuit of partial discharge in MATLAB software, and then determine the parameter by doing some calculation and some research in research paper or journal. Then for the phase 3 is about simulation of the software. Insert the parameter into the skirt diagram, then simulate the measuring system and calibration system of partial discharge in MATLAB software. If the result obtained does not meet the requirement, so the process is repeat into the phase 2. But if the result meets the requirement, this process is proceed to the phase 4, which is documentation. The documentation consists of the record or collect the output data from the software, analyze and complete the result, doing the discussion and conclusion based on the result obtained. This part is about the calculation for obtaining the capacitance value of a test object that will represent in a skirt diagram. In this project, 3 capacitance void model is used to represent a test object with void. This is the figure that illustrates the test object, which is SLPE cable with present a center cylindrical void. Due to this project is concentrate on different dimension of void, so there are 3 dimensions of void are used as shown in this table. The capacitor value can be calculated by using these 3 formulas. And relative permittivity of SLPE cable is used in this formula. The value of these 3 capacitor values, which are CA, CB, and CC, in 3 different dimensions of void, is calculated and shown in these 3 tables. This is the last part for the methodology. It consists of the skirt diagram that had been developed in the MATLAB software. These 2 figures are about the skirt diagram of partial discharge measurement, while these 2 figures are about the calibrated skirt of partial discharge. This is the figure about the fundamental test skirt for measuring partial discharge, and this is the figure about the skirt diagram of partial discharge measurement in MATLAB that developed according to this fundamental test skirt. This skirt is consists of the AC source, filter unit, measuring capacitor, coupling capacitor, CA, CB, and CC as test object. This is the detected circuit, and also this is the measuring instrument. While this is the figure about the test skirt of partial discharge with partial discharge calibrator, and this is the figure about the calibration skirt of partial discharge that connected across a test object. This figure also is developed according to this fundamental test skirt. This is the test object that and this is a calibrated skirt that connected across a test object. This is the detector skirt and measuring instrument. All these skirt is developed in MATLAB software and be stimulated in order to obtain the result of partial discharge signal. This is the simulation of the partial discharge measurement in MATLAB software. The result of the partial discharge signal can be obtained after running this skirt diagram. Before that, the applied voltage must be supplied into the AC source for energizing this skirt diagram. This diagram is applied with 15 kilovolt. After the AC source is applied into this circuit, the voltage across the electrode, which is VA increase, and cause the voltage across the cavity VC is increased, and which void get charged, and then the partial discharge signal can be obtained after running this simulation. This is the result of the partial discharge signal. This partial discharge signal will be different when the applied voltage and also the value of VA, VC and VB is different according to the dimension of void. And this is the calibration skirt of the partial discharge measurement. It consists of the calibrator skirt and also test object. The calibrator skirt is connected across the test object. This is the detector skirt and this is the measuring instrument. In the calibrator skirt have another subsystem skirt which are pulse generator and controller, which play an important role for obtaining the output result. After we running this simulation, we can get the output pulse of detector skirt, and then we can get the output current pulse from detector skirt, and then we can get the input voltage which are output pulse generator value. This is the result they obtain when supplying the AC source with 5 kilovolt into the circuit diagram of partial discharge measurement. The partial discharge signal are obtained according to the three dimension of void in 0.02 second of time taken. And the graph show all the maximum amplitude of partial discharge signal with different dimension of cylindrical void from 5 kilovolt until 20 kilovolt. And this graph showing all the maximum amplitude of partial discharge signal with applied voltage of AC source. From this result, we can see that the differences in void diameter of insulation cable will result in the signal of partial discharge also is different according to the void diameter. We can see that the maximum amplitude of partial discharge signal is increased with increases of dimension of clinical void, while the maximum amplitude of partial discharge signal also is increased with applied voltage of AC source. From this result, we can know that the increases of void diameter will affect the partial discharge to be more serious, which can damage the insulation condition. This is the result they obtained from calibrated skirt of partial discharge measurement. This is the figure that showing the output of pulse generator or as input voltage of the skirt with value 9 volt. Due as this known as input voltage due to there is no applied voltage in the calibrated skirt. And this is the output pulse of detector skirt. They obtained in 0.02 second of time taken. This graph shows the output pulse from the detector skirt with apparent charge. It can be said that the output pulse from detector skirt is increased when the apparent charge is increased. The apparent charge can be determined by apply the parameter into the output of pulse generator. The conclusion for this project is able to create a skirt diagram of partial discharge measurement in MATLAB software by using various components. Then, this project also able to simulate the skirt diagram with different dimension of void and different value of applied voltage. After the result obtained through the simulation skirt, um, the characteristic of partial discharge was successfully been analyzed. And lastly, the calibration skirt of partial discharge measurement system was successfully been developed by using MATLAB software to calibrate a test object. The recommendation for improve this project are develop a system by using another software such as PSPICE and COMSOL software. Use a different type of insulation cable and different type of void model. And lastly, develop the physical calibration skirt by using the real components and oscilloscope equipment. That's all from me. Thank you.